A and S. I imagine Ava Altenbern doing art her whole life. Her pastel butterfly jewelry, mutinous tattoo, black hair, Wednesday Addams white skin, and green eyes point to art major, not necessarily her double major in art history and biochemistry. She first picked up a paintbrush her final semester at CU Boulder and proceeded to create incredibly real self-portraiture that meshed with the aesthetic imagination of graphic novels. Ava is an infinite number of unexpected contradictions packed into an unassuming firecracker. I can't imagine the sparkly green-eyed Ava working as an autopsy technician intern in the morgue. On today's episode, Ava describes wielding the blades, saws, and Dura-strippers needed to eviscerate a brain, and the way these experiences focus her many passions into her path toward forensic pathology. As an alum who spent much of her college experience during the pandemic years, Ava talks about her struggles to find her style as an artist, her path in medicine, and the moments she realizes she is anding too much. Ava has done more of the unimaginable in her time on this earth than many of us can fathom, but this bundle of contradictions is just getting started. On the Ampersand, we call this bringing together of the impossible the alchemy of anding. Together, we'll hear stories of humans who imagine and create by colliding their interests. Rather than thinking of and as a simple conjunction in that conjunction-junction kind of way, we will hear stories of people who see and as a verb, a way to speak the beautiful when you intentionally let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. As St. Mary Oliver asks, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Oh, I love this question. When I'm mothering, creating, and collaborating, it reminds me to replace a singular idea of what I think I should become with a full sensory verb about experiencing. I'm Erika Randall, and this is Ava Altenbern on the Ampersand.
At this point, I'm so young, I don't think I've mastered anything. I think it's going to take me a long time to master anything because I'm interested in so many things. But also, it's kind of I think of it as a crutch, but after college, I'm like, I got all this stuff in my back pocket that I can pull out. It's very much the Gemini in me.
You're a Gemini.
I'm a really true Gemini, too, because I was born on June 2nd at 2 p.m., and I'm technically a twin. And my twin passed away in childbirth, but the story of the Gemini twins is that one survived and one died.
You're like a...
And so it's like really intense.
Really a Gemini.
Yeah.
And do you think that it was in those moments where you absorbed your dark, beautiful humor?
Well, that's the thing is I'm like, I have always been interested in death, but I was around it.
You were around it when you were born.
Yeah. So it's just kind of always been a thing. And death is obviously a very hard thing for everyone.
And did biochem, art history, working in the morgue, were all of those things, are they connected to this kind of relationship? Yeah, talk to me about that.
So when I was 12 or 13, my mom and I were really obsessed with like Dateline and watching like crime shows and stuff like that. And so from that point on, I was always really interested in getting into forensics pathology, being either an autopsy tech or the doctor in the room. And so... Which
I've always seen you as a CSI character. Do you see yourself?
I mean, not specifically CSI. I never watched CSI. Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds. Yeah. Penelope.
I love Aaron Hotchner, actually, deeply.
Like deeply.
I love that man.
Oh my God, I loved Criminal Minds until I had a kid and then I couldn't watch it anymore. Yeah. It got really dark for me.
Well, it was actually interesting. After I worked at the morgue, it got harder for me to watch, true crime stuff. Mm. I don't watch a lot of true crime anymore.
After the morgue. Yeah. So there's before the morgue and after the morgue.
Yeah. I think it's a different understanding that I have of what actually happens.
What death looks like.
Yes.
And how it lands on a body. Yes. Yeah.
And so I was in a morgue, or I went to the morgue and I worked as an autopsy intern, and it was only 8 months. And it was also at a point in my life. It was my junior year, I think, or the first semester of my junior year. I didn't really know why I came to see you. I was very, not like super lost, but I was just, I probably could have had the same experience at like ASU. I'm originally from Arizona and not spent a ton of out-of-state money.
Out-of-state is hard.
Yeah. And not been away from,
And with a mom saying, when are you going to choose your major? Yeah. Why do you have a double major?
Yeah.
Why did you change your major?
Yeah. Which she was very supportive and stuff. Yeah. But she was very much like, why are you doing art history? I don't get it.
And you weren't sure. Your biochem, art history, all at the same time. And then in comes tattoo photographer of dead bodies and says, I did an internship.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't even know this existed when I came here. And it turns out this internship is one of the best autopsy technician internships in the country. And the autopsy technician who headed this program really came in and she changed the entire structure of it to really be an educational, immersive experience, because it was actually all the autopsy technicians there who work there was at one point an intern and did this program. But when she did it, she was saying how, it wasn't really structured, organized educational program. You didn't have there was these modules of, the first module is basic morgue operations, drawing blood, filling out all the information, really office stuff too, keeping everything clean. And then module two is cranial evisceration.
And that's where you excel.
Yeah. So I learned how to remove a brain in under 7 minutes. So that's a thing I can do.
Does that go on special skills or top of your resume?
I just kind of put, that I generally did it because people have a lot of different reactions. So
my reaction when I first met you and heard this was like, I need to know you. Because you had such a light about you. It's like a space of pride that you could do this. And so that's module 2.
Mm-hmm. And so then you just kind of go through the body and, you have to be proficient in what you're doing and correctly remove whatever organ that you're focusing on. And
do you have a supervisor?
Yes.
Okay. How many supervisors are in there?
So I think, I'm trying to remember, they have 5 or 6 different autopsy technicians, and each month you rotate.
Okay, so you're learning different people's
skills. Yeah, because everyone does it differently, basically. There's, a right way to do it, but no right way to perform it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, a play, you have your lines, but there's different ways you can perform it. And so
Was there a ritual about it? I think of that this is a pretty sacred moment that a body is being unearthed, or the secrets of its death or its stories are being told. Did you ever feel, or did anyone have a kind of create a ritualistic space, or did you have your own, I'm with you, human, thank you, or did you have a thing that felt sacred in the space, or did you keep it clinical?
I mean, it's pretty clinical, but at the same time, I was kind of talking about before, there's always, you kind of have to create a lightness in it. They have very dark humor. Yeah. It's funny because if you're not used to it and you walk in and, people are making these jokes, it can come off as very crass and disrespectful, but it's, a very difficult situation that you're in.
Day after day.
Yeah, that you're just trying to humanize, this experience and not just keep it clinical, because then you just lose, all of why you're doing this. Yeah. But also, it's funny, we would always play music in the morgue.
You'd have a soundtrack.
Yeah.
What was your best, worst soundtrack?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of metal that was happening.
Like death metal in the morgue. Yeah. That makes sense. That's a little on the nose.
Yeah, but it would rotate through. Sometimes people would play Taylor Swift, and then
T-Swift in an autopsy.
Yeah. And so it was always different. We kind of rotated through who was choosing the playlist.
It depended on the technician.
Yeah, usually the autopsy technicians were always choosing the playlist.
It wasn't based on the scenario or the human or the story. It was on the humans who were alive.
Which I think, whatever comforts you in that situation.
Yeah.
But it really created a nice kind of lighter environment and more relaxed, because you're learning how to do all these evisceration techniques on a human person.
Yes.
And you want to respect their body as much as you can and not screw up.
Yeah. Because there's sometimes you're looking for evidence in the body. Yeah, did that come up for you in that forensic space?
Yeah. So the autopsy interns weren't allowed to kind of be involved in the evisceration portion of anything where it was like a homicide or any like criminal case, just because, we are babies in this, which totally understandable. We were able to like help with evidence collection, just kind of hold the bag while they put the evidence in there.
And did that get you lit? Because that was kind of pointing towards one of your original goals.
Yeah, it really did make me like understand, because normal autopsies can usually happen in an hour. They're very fast.
Whoa, that's why the 7 minutes to get the brain out of the skull is such a good move.
And so it's like they're really trying to teach you how to, operate in this morgue setting. And autopsy technicians are such an integral part of the morgue and of the medical examiner's office. They really don't get enough credit because, they're not the pathologists, they're not the doctors who are like diagnosing and everything, but they're the people who are usually removing all the organs, doing all of like the hard lifting work of it, and doing all the cleaning, making sure like all the like the office is put together and prepared for the doctors. They really make everything go smoothly.
So this podcast is a shout out.
Yes, unsung heroes of the morgue, autopsy technicians. Yeah. They are amazing, and they do it all with this grace and kind of effortlessly. Yeah. The doctors will walk in, and not to say the doctors don't do stuff. They're obviously, but I think they already get all the credit. and that's what I want to do. I want to be a forensics pathologist. But.
So did you feel that kind of focus towards your, not, I guess, purpose, or you were saying, I wasn't sure why I came here. Mm-hmm. Did this land you in the why of here and the yes of next?
Yes, it did. 100%. Wow. Because like I said, I was really kind of in this position. I had recently lost some friends back home, and I was really going kind of through just a really tough period.
Lost?
Yeah, not lost. Okay. They're alive.
Okay. Because I don't know with you. I don't know with you, Ava.
Yeah. I get
everyone when you say lost, they could be gone.
No, they're here. They're present, but we're just not connected anymore. And I'd been going through a lot just at CU too, and so at that point we had just come out of the pandemic. I wasn't doing as well as I wanted to in my classes. I had a really hard time readjusting from being on, just getting, adjusted to being online and then being thrown back in person. I think that was, threw me for a loop.
And you didn't just go back in person, you went and then dealt with bodies.
Yeah.
So from no body to bodies. Yeah. That's a huge jump.
Yeah. And especially kind of towards the last of my 8 months at the morgue, we weren't dealing with a lot of COVID cases anymore, but that was definitely something at the start of it.
When you were working in the morgue, you were actually holding the bodies of folks who died from COVID. Yeah.
And so that was kind of like a in your face, like the effects of this pandemic, just both like the emotional and mental effects, and then like the physical, people have died from COVID.
But every time I hear you say draw blood, because you're a visual artist, I see you drawing blood. I just see it. So had you discovered at this moment, as you were really feeling into this forensic pathology, you were an art history double major, and then you started taking intro classes in visual art, and you had drawn-ish?
Yeah. The first time I ever took an art class was in junior high, and that was the last time I had ever taken an art class.
In junior high?
Yeah, until CU, until my art history major. But I learned very foundational stuff in that art class, and from there I got really focused in just kind of learning technique and the skill of, drawing. I did a lot of like really hyper-realistic portraiture, which is a little bit controversial now in the art practice world, because a lot of people are like, it's so uninspired, you're just copying a photo, which I'm like, yeah, I get that. It takes some skill to do that, but, and that's where I really struggled. I couldn't create my own style. Yeah. That was really hard for me. And we were kind of talking about earlier, that didn't really happen until my final art class in college,
and
which was last
that
semester.
Got you into that? Was it that you took a risk on paper and said, there I am?
Kind of. I've always been really wanting to kind of have a style that's kind of similar, like comic book.
Yeah, that's what I feel when I look at your work. But it's different than comic book too, because it has this like hyper realism in a way that's then juxtaposed with another side.
Which if I ever wanted to like do a comic book or illustrate would be so hard because I would be so meticulous about every detail. It'd take me years.
Forever. You'd do one book.
Yeah.
You would do comic book.
Yeah. That's it. And so I kind of always wanted to have that style, but I had never really been challenged out. Like I never challenged myself and I didn't know the steps to take that. And I took just the intro to painting class for like art and art history majors because there's a non-majors class. But our teacher, our professor was, a grad student and it was her final year or semester as a grad student. So it was our first day of class. I remember I was 10 minutes late to that class. I'm never late to anything. And
Were you nervous?
I just slept through. Yeah. It was in the morning. It was a 5-hour class and I, slept through my alarms and I was 10 minutes late and I walk in and the first thing she says to me is she's like, try to be on time. And I'm like,
great impression.
Yeah, wonderful. But she actually has hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram.
Because of her style.
Because of her art. And I'm like, and I didn't know this before I signed up for this class.
Kind of internet famous.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, she's my teacher.
Did you like her style?
Yeah, I love her style. It's very gothic, very she does a lot of print and metal work now, but oh my gosh, it's beautiful. She makes all these pendants. And I actually found her on Instagram through one of my friends from Arizona because she reposted one of her
That's
pieces.
How you took the class? Or you were in the class already and one of your friends said, check this out, you're going to dig it. And you said, that's my teacher?
That's my teacher.
You have some good coincidence.
I really believe there's no such thing as a coincidence.
No.
I think
what do you call them? Those moments that are
I just was like, oh, okay, that's great. I don't really call them anything. Just little panic moments because I'm like,
you look around and feel like
something's watching me or something's moving all the parts. I think everything happens for a reason. I do think we have agency of getting there, but I think it all works out in the end, hopefully.
Even when it
looks like it's not working out, it will.
So this teacher inspired you to dig into your own ness.
But I really, wanted to hone in on this experience that I had during my junior year. I was kind of everything was happening at once. I felt very lost. I didn't know what I was doing at CU anymore. I was having a very hard time. I had lost a lot of friends back home and, a lot was going on with my family. So it was everything happens all at once.
Yeah. And you're always, it always is, but there are times where it really feels like it.
Oh my gosh. I remember it was right when I came, because all this happened over the summer. And then I came to CU my junior year, and we drove my car up from Arizona. It was within the first week of having my car, all this was happening, and I get a flat tire. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
No, I know. The week of my wedding, my mom died, and I got a flat tire. And and when the tire did the thing, I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. It's that one thing. Everything is always happening, and then there's the one thing.
I was like, this is... Because, and my dad had been in the hospital briefly, and, I also lost a friend to CU, so it felt like I was totally on my own.
So you put all of that.
Yeah. Well, and it was just, kind of this emotion of... I remember being very angry during that time and just kind of pissed off at the world and pissed off at myself. And what I did to fix that, I threw myself into everything. And, I did my autopsy internship. I got into Muay Thai and kickboxing. I, was just trying everything. I worked a lot, took a lot of classes that I normally wouldn't have taken.
Were you over-anding?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is something I always tell people. I was a student ambassador for the College of Arts and Sciences, and at our last meeting, my boss was like, give us one piece of advice. And I was like, definitely don't underestimate yourself because you can do so much more than you think you can do. I am an example of that, but also don't overestimate yourself because you can way overdo it. And finding that balance is something that took me until my senior year.
What was it that got you to understanding that? Because I still need to know.
Well, I think it was just me overdoing it. I'd always pushed myself a lot.
Did you get sick? Did you get sad? Did you just hit a wall?
I got sick so much.
You got sick?
And my roommate got sick a lot too, but it was kind of constantly I'd get sick and then she'd get sick because she was living with me, and then she'd get sick and I'd get sick. So I was we were constantly ill in that house.
But it kind of helped. The everything to find what you wanted to do helped until it didn't.
Yes.
Until then it was too much.
Yeah. And I finally started going to therapy this year in January. Down. Yeah. And I remember my first session with my therapist, which, oh my gosh, therapy is amazing. People do therapy.
Do therapy.
Even if you don't think you need therapy, just do therapy.
Say yes to the internship.
Yeah.
Get the tattoo you want.
Yeah.
Go to the what's it called? The art store?
Art Parts.
Go to Art Parts and do therapy.
Do therapy. Yeah, that is my advice to people. But I remember, telling my therapist everything that I had to do my last semester, senior year. And I was taking 20 credits of classes. I had 2 jobs on campus. I wasn't in my internship anymore, but I had my honors thesis and I was still doing lab research, which takes a lot of time. It was at least 12 to 20 hours per week in the lab. And then I had to write this thesis and defend it. And on top of that, I was like, why not study for the MCAT? Why not do that?
Why not do that? So you did that.
I can do that, and I didn't. I did not study for the MCAT.
So,
yeah, but I took it, but I didn't study for it.
But you are still launching into this whole new space. You're moving to DC.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're going to do.
So I actually it was funny because I had done all this stuff and then I graduated and I realized I didn't plan for what I was going to do next.
You just were doing all the stuff.
I was doing everything. And then, because my original plan was I was going to apply for med school this summer. Yeah. And, I didn't study for the MCAT. I think I did pretty well for not studying, but definitely need to retake it. And so I had to give myself a little bit of grace, which was very hard for me to do. And I changed my entire plan. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. And one of the people from my lab actually was going to the National Institute of Health to do this post-baccalaureate program that they have. And it's an amazing program. You kind of get paid dirt, but I mean, it's right. You're doing research right out of college. What do you expect? And so they have, it's the National Institute of Health. I kind of like to describe it as like a college campus, but it's just research labs. It's like there's postdocs, just staff scientists, the PIs or the principal investigators, and a bunch of postbacks running around. Everyone.
Do you know what you're going to be on? What lab you're going to be in?
And so I'm in this virology lab that are looking at RNA viruses. And so it's still in the RNA.
Still connects.
And they're specifically looking at influenza and reovirus. And I think, it's a very flexible lab, but I think I'm probably going to be on the reovirus project because they want to figure out the mRNA transcription mechanisms. And that was kind of my whole shtick.
That was your shtick. So you're in it. So it doesn't feel overwhelming to you, even though it's super new and it's a big thing and the government is sniffing into all of your business.
My info.
Your info. But you feel ready. You feel prepped for this.
And so I, found out about this through the other person in my lab.
Do you think your art side also helped you land this next?
I think it definitely makes a point of interest. There's a plus that, even on med school applications, med schools are kind of also looking for people who now it's like it's not just the sciences. You have to be someone who's also has something else in their wheelhouse. And so I think it's a thing that's it starts a lot of conversations. Well, definitely.
You have a lot of conversations to start. I'm so grateful for this one. I think it's time for the quick and dirty. I think we got to get in on it. Are you ready?
Sure.
Do you know what the quick and dirty is?
No, I do not.
Okay, so the quick and dirty is when I ask you questions and you have to answer them quick, but it doesn't have to be dirty. Okay. All right. So I want to hear more about, because you already said it, but I need to know more. Your favorite or the most wrong music and autopsy combinations?
Oh, God. I think, the Taylor Swift one was a little bit weird. You're usually used to walking in and being a lot of rock and metal.
Yeah.
And
which album do you remember?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was one of her earlier ones.
Okay, good.
Too.
Please tell. Oh, that's actually weirder.
Yeah, it was like her debut or something. And I like Taylor Swift. I'm going to her concert. I'm so excited. Well, it's actually like I have a week of concerts. I'm doing Fall Out Boy and Bring Me the Horizon, and then Paramore, and then Taylor Swift.
Okay, so that would have been my next quick and dirty is like your favorite bands.
Fall Out Boy has always been my lifelong love, but also my favorite artist of all time is Billy Joel.
Oh my gosh.
I went to his concert when I was 18, but I love Billy Joel so much.
Stop with the Piano Man. Do you have a favorite Billy Joel that has "and" in it? I need an "and" Billy Joel "and" song. Can you think of one or a lyric?
Oh, No, I don't know about my favorite Billy Joel song is what is it called? Now I can't. It's literally my favorite, and I can't.
This is what happens on the Quick and Dirty.
I know the first line of it. These are not the best of times, but they're the only times I've ever known.
I know that song. That sounds exactly like best.
Summer Highland Falls. Summer Highland Falls.
And Summer Highland Falls.
I also love scenes from an Italian restaurant.
Oh my God, I love scenes from an Italian
just because like my mom told me once that like her and my dad, before they were married, they used to like dance in the kitchen to that song, and it's just such like I love that song.
Kitchen dancing is the best. Okay, what is your anding accessory that you would wear to kind of spice up your PPE, medical, white coat reality? What would you roll up in that still says Ava? I
have a bunch of earrings. I have a bunch of piercings, and I'm not wearing all of them right now. I have one kind of special. You have like a pink safety situation? Like there's it's a kind of like
like a star dangle?
Yeah, it's like a dangle, but it has like a butterfly on it, and then there's like a mushroom.
You have and then like a sweet butterfly on your neck.
Yeah, I have a lot of jewelry. I love jewelry.
Sparkly jewelry.
Yeah.
Okay. Food combination of your guilty pleasures.
Oh, God. When I was younger, I used to do this really gross thing that I sometimes still do. My best friend from my childhood and I used to call it like garbage noodles. And just because they looked like they came out of the garbage.
What's in garbage noodles?
It's just literally like butter noodles with an excess amount of salt and pepper and like just random spices. That's it. And you kind of just make it gross because it looks disgusting.
It looks like brains.
When we were younger and we didn't know, like we were like 8 and didn't know how to like cook something on the stove, we put noodles in a bowl of like water and put it in the microwave.
Garbage noodles.
Which did not work, but we still ate it.
You still ate it, so you would still eat that today?
Yeah, I used to do that with like ramen because I'm vegetarian, so I don't usually use the packets unless it's the vegetarian one. And so I would like drain out all of my roommates were horrified. I'd drain out all of like the water and just like make pasta with the ramen noodles because it was quick and easy and I was in college. So
I love it.
It's gross.
Quick and dirty.
Yeah.
Garbage noodles. Yeah. Okay, you have a blessing that you are going to send folks off with. A thing that you're going to say that's going to go, and may you always da-da-da. What would yours be?
I'm stealing it from Ted Lasso, which I think everyone should watch Ted Lasso, number 1, but be curious and not judgmental.
Can you put an and in there at the beginning?
And be curious and not judgmental.
Yeah. Now say it like you mean it.
And be curious and not judgmental.
That was Ava Altenbern on the Ampersand. Hey, med schools, you'd be lucky to have her. Learn more about Ava in our show notes. The Ampersand is a production of the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Colorado Boulder. It is written and produced by me, Erika Randall, and Tim Grassley. If there are people you'd like us to interview on the Ampersand, do please email us at asinfo@colorado.edu. Our theme music was composed and performed by Nelson Walker, and the episodes are recorded at Interplay Recording in Boulder, Colorado. I'm Erika Randall, and this is the Ampersand.